Hey everyone, Redneck Computer Geek here. So we're getting up and ready in order to go on another tractor hunt. It's a Husqvarna D something. It basically was Husqvarna's version of the GT6000 Craftsman. So we're gonna go get it. It's an ugly thing, but up and running, they're worth some cash. We're gonna be spending 150 bucks today. Hopefully we get a good deal. Oh, check out my taillights. So I ended up getting rear-ended and smashed out my old 94 taillights. So I put these 2002 taillights on, and my aux beam light bar actually survived getting hit in a way that smashed out that. It was actually warped and bent around, and I had to beat all that sheet metal back into place, but that light bar survived getting hit. I thought that was pretty neat. Alright, we're loaded up. Let's get going. So without question, this is just plain a beast of a machine. I mean, it literally has my Ranger squatting down through and bottoming out on bumps. It's just plain huge. Now, this is a GTH200 Hydro. And basically, this is Husqvarna's version of that. That's a GT6000 by Craftsman. And this is the GTH200. They're both pretty much exactly the same tractor. In fact, this rear piece, it's interchangeable. This plastic is interchangeable. Almost all your front clip and everything is all interchangeable. And even the decks are interchangeable. The only thing that makes this a Husqvarna is that hood right there. That's it. The rest of it is pretty well interchangeable with the GT. I believe the dashboard is even interchangeable also. Somebody will comment down below. Now, this has a couple of interesting things while we're here. One thing you always want to start looking for when you're doing used machines is tubed or not. This right here, you can obviously tell there's no flange around it, there's no grommet. This is tubed. That one there is also tubed. While we're right here, check out that oil spigot. That's some high quality copper work right there. So, tubed versus not tubed. If we stick the camera down in here, you're gonna see right here we got the grommet and we got everything. And this is just too far gone. Once you start to get folds like this, you're not bringing it back. I mean, you might be able to top it off with some automatic transmission fluid and then go from there and be able to get it to come to life for a little bit. Just a second, let me set this so it'll pump up while we're here. I mean, you might get a little bit out of it, but it definitely is never going to come back to a point that you should really resell it. So I'm going to immediately look into ordering another tube for this. As I'm sure you can tell from the wood block, the guy was a little bit on the shorter side. He actually stood about yay tall to me. Real nice guy. I mean, I've dealt with him in the past. Never short on talkative breath, but he's a little short on stature. But a really nice guy. We're gonna let this finish up, but as you can see, it really didn't take very long for that to fill up. For anybody who wants to know, there's a winch mounted in underneath the deck. It's an X-Bull 3000. You should check out the link in the description. Oh, I think if we give it a shove, that should do it. Nice. Safe and sound. We got the machine off without too much incident, and it doesn't look too bad. I mean, the dash needs to be repainted, which is normal, and the hood's a little scuffed up, but we can work on that. I'm really not quite sure what got onto the hood. Something seems to have like eaten into it. If you look at it, kind of a weird texture. And it looks to be in pretty decent condition. Now, I like the little foot pedal add-on. And if we flip this up, we've got a nice Kohler Command 20. And the model number is a CV20S. Not in too bad of a condition. It's got a die-hard Gold Series battery in it. They were a really good battery, so we'll see what we can do. I've got the booster pack on it, charging it up with a 2 amp cycle for the last couple of hours. And the reason being is because I put a tester across it and only had about 11.6 volts. Now, 11.6 should theoretically be able to crank it over, but I wanted it to be fully set up when we tried. It does have fresh gas in it right now, and I have pulled the oil dipstick and smelled it. There is a little bit of gas on it, but because of the fact this is a fuel pump system, which is right here, we should not have too much in the oil, because the only thing that could be in the oil is whatever was from here to here and in the bowl for pressurized at the time, which really isn't that much. Okay, let's set the camera down and see what happens. We haven't tried to crank it or anything. This is just going to be a go for it moment. So the guy did give me the friendly bit of advice that apparently he had removed the brake thing so that you had to hold it down to start it. We'll probably end up putting in some sort of alternative idea later. $150, take one. Alright, let's give it some choke if we can. Yeah, that choke rod is very seized. Set the gas. Oh, we got a check engine oil light on. That's a good way to start. So I don't know if you saw that, but we had hornet's nest stuff flying out from underneath it when we hit that deck engagement. And the other reason I turned it off is you don't have smell-o-vision, and I could see just a puff of white smoke coming out and some deck burning. So obviously we've got a bearing or something that's not happy in underneath, and we need to fix the wiring harness issues. The other thing I noticed is that there is a plate right here, which for some reason is loose and undone. Now in the past, what I've discovered with stuff like this is that usually this was left off because there's something that somebody had to monkey with on a regular basis. So I'm gonna pull this out, see what's underneath here later, and see if there's any hodgepodge underneath it. It continues. I know you want to know what's in the box. I highly doubt it's what it actually says. It says micro flare on the top. Model number 18BF. I highly doubt there's a flare in here, but let's find out. Got a rag. A spare PTO button. .3/8 pipe, 3/8 pipe. Apparently oil changes were something that required a lot of preparation. Battery terminal. Up, some more circuitry. These are in underneath the dash for the engagement and the toggles. So I bet that's where that came from. Oh, cute. The original light. We can put that back on after we get it cleaned up. More oil change. And just a compendium of random little bolts and stuff. I got no idea what that went to. That makes me concerned. What do you bet he was jumping for a safety switch with that? I wonder if the one underneath the seat's still there. We'll check that later. And this is something I find. If I find something like this stored on the tractor, it means there's a tire that consistently kept going flat and somebody said to heck with it and stored it somewhere. So I'm going to bet that this one we pumped up earlier probably goes flat within a certain period of time. And apparently a switch panel switch nut. So one of these panel pieces, I'm betting this is probably not original. There we go. That's what was in the box. Alright, so we all have come across these hateful switches in a Craftsman, and they unplug, and for testing purposes only, I want to show you this trick. If you've got the one that's for the brake, for the clutch, for this, if you take your white side and you loop it and connect it, your tractor will start and disable this thing. For testing purposes only, you can do this. Now down in here, I noticed there was some rat's nest that was coming out of this spark plug. So we're gonna pull this up and see what's in underneath here. This thing is rusted really bad. I ended up snapping 1, 2, 3 bolts while trying to get this off of here. But let's take a look and see what we got going on. There we go. Yeah, that's some pretty gnarly rat's nest. So we're gonna take this out. We're gonna be real careful. It looks as if this thing is actually just running on one side of its ignition right now. Yep. That twin is running on one single side. Gotta love them. We'll get that fixed up and try the next thing. Alright, so as you can see, we got the GTH200 up and running. It's an automatic hydrostatic with the independent pump, and it runs really good. Now that the coil is replaced, we got it all cleaned up and worked over, it's going really well. The deck is in really good condition, the blades underneath are in really good condition, and it's all set and ready to go. Now what I actually figured out about this handle is this was actually pretty smart. What it allows you to do is tip it up, and then you can grab up here with one hand and you can grab down there with the other hand, and you lift it up and off, which I thought was pretty brilliant actually. As you can see, the motor's all nicely cleaned up, ready to go. I'm probably going to put a spark plug in on this side. I think that's where the slight little bit of a misfire is coming from. And here we are. It is a Command 20. There's the rest of the information. Fresh oil filter in it. The oil in it is actually really good, so somebody did an oil change on it before I bought it, and it looks pretty good inside. We ended up swapping out the PTO switch that was in it. These are real cheap. I can post a link down below. I think they're like 10 bucks. But I like these fluorescent red ones just because it makes it easier for the customer to remember and know that that's what it is. I did find the original reflector. I'm going to 2-ton epoxy it in place so that it matches the other one. But it's really no big deal. On a side note, this is what happens when you overinflate tubes over time. They eventually just crack out even further, or it ends up with too much sun damage. So this tire is definitely debating the sanctity of life, and I'll be warning the next owner. So, all in all, I would say the machine is probably worth somewhere in the $500 ballpark. I'll probably end up listing it probably at $600, but the real reality is I'll probably end up taking $500. Not a bad pickup. Have fun, keep tractor hunting.